Hi, it's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and if you've seen my other cake jar videos, then you might have already seen my strawberry compote and Italian meringue buttercream recipe. You can go ahead and skip through to get straight to the Cruella cake jar part. This strawberry compote recipe is so easy. You just take any fruit of your choice and take a 1/4 cup of sugar and sprinkle it over top. I'm mashing my strawberries, but you could easily leave them whole or sliced. It really just depends on the type of mouthfeel that you prefer. You want to boil the fruit so that it's nice and tender. Once you feel it's tender enough, remove the fruit and then reduce down that liquid. If you have a lot of liquid, you might need to add more sugar. I would do this a 1/4 cup at a time. You don't want too much sugar because you don't want it to be too syrupy sweet. If you find that it's too reduced or overly reduced, then go ahead and add a little bit more water in. Just plain water will do. You don't need the fruit juice. Once you're happy with the consistency, take it off the stove and let it fully cool. Now we're moving on to our Italian meringue buttercream recipe. I've made this recipe so many times. It's super easy, but really you can use whatever type of buttercream filling you desire. You could even use a mousse with these cake jars as well. So get that sugar and water mixture up to 244 degrees Fahrenheit, have those egg whites whipping, and once it reaches temp, then you're going to slowly pour that sugar into the egg white mixture. As it's whipping, it's still going to be quite hot. After you whip for about 3 minutes, you want to start adding in your butter. I always add the butter in straight from the fridge because every time I use room temperature butter, I find that the mixture gets way too soupy. So just the way that all of the temperature and timing works out, the butter from the refrigerator actually helps get you super quick Italian meringue buttercream without any more rest or waiting time. You just need to make sure to whip that butter. And if it seems like it's still soupy or not the right consistency after about 10 minutes of whipping, then maybe put it in the fridge if it's too soupy, or if you notice it's becoming granulated, then you need to put it back on the stove just for a little bit on a double boiler. Once your Italian meringue buttercream is fully whipped, you want to add quite a bit of edible food gel into your frosting. It takes a lot of black to make this a pure black. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just spoon on some of that black frosting and some of the white frosting onto some plastic wrap. Then I'm going to take that plastic wrap, roll it up, and then put it directly into my piping bag, which is fitted with a classic 1M tip or a classic metal star tip. Whenever I think of Cruella de Vil, I think of black, white, and red. So I'm actually going to make this compote very visible in my cake jar. I'm just putting it directly on there. You'll notice that my glass is fogging up a little bit because the compote is still a bit warm. But luckily this cake came from the freezer because it's my leftover cake top scraps that I never like to waste. But you can really utilize these anytime you want. And I find that the texture and quality is not compromised even though this was in the freezer. You can really layer this however you see fit, but you do want to make sure that you have enough cake to filling ratio. I never like to end off on the compote. I really make sure to end off on the cake portion because I want that icing to adhere to the cake. If it was just on the compote, things would be slipping and sliding around. I also want a lot of height with this, so that's why you'll notice that I'm really adding on a bunch of cake to that top as well. I was really racking my brain on how to include that Dalmatian print to really sell the idea of Cruella de Vil, so I thought a bow would be perfect at the top of a cake jar since it's so pretty and cute, but it still conveys the idea of this villain. So to make this bow, you just take some fondant and you cut it into that shape that I just showed you. And then you fold in the sides, and if you want to, you can adhere that with a little bit of water. That white powdery stuff you see on my fingers is cornstarch, and that's just to prevent anything from sticking to the actual surface that I'm working on. Then you take a smaller, thinner piece, and you're going to wrap this around the center. This is going to cover up any of those imperfections that you had while you were trying to adjoin that bow. This black and white icing really reminds me of her hair, so I want to do a nice generous dollop right on the top. Make sure that when you're making your fondant bows, you don't make them too large. You want them to be able to go on the side of this cake jar. So if you make them too large, then they will flop over. Now I'm adding on some sugar. I thought this was sanding sugar when I purchased it. It's more of a rock sugar, which is slightly bigger than sanding sugar, but it still works and it still looks beautiful and sparkly. I always have a ton of sprinkles on hand for these type of occasions when I just want to whip out all of the different sprinkles. So I absolutely love these little pearls as well. Then I'm going to take some edible food gel in black. I actually didn't even add any vodka to this. Normally I do. I'm just dipping in my paintbrush and doing it this way. If I'm covering large surfaces, then I will add the vodka in, but because this is so small, I'm just going in directly and painting this on. I could see you being able to turn this into a mini mouse jar as well if you just did the bow in red maybe and then added some mini ears, but I really, really love all of that red for Halloween. If you really want to put your cake jars over the top, then go ahead and add some sort of spoon. I'm just using something that is disposable but looks really, really pretty still. I love this rose gold, and it attaches really easily with this tulle fabric that I purchased from the dollar store. I think it was $3 for a huge roll. Now let's talk about pricing. The pricing is a little bit different than the Maleficent jars that I made the other day. So in terms of custom, it's a little bit more expensive. You'll notice that my stock price though is the same as the Maleficent jars that I made yesterday. And my reason for that is, as a bakery, when you put out something like this that kind of looks like it's all cohesive, people are generally not going to understand that, oh, the bow takes a lot longer to make than the horns, for example. So I generally like to keep it the same pricing if it's something that looks relatively the same. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading daily, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys.